Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is just me talking on my opinion on vegan ricotta cheese and why I will not be buying it. Here I am just showing you the ingredients and this is very processed. In this recipe I'm showing you things that I use so that we can have a subjective talk or opinion about this. And in this particular recipe that I did create it and wasted was plant-based bacon. I also added to the recipe flax binder, which I've used dozens of times in other recipes. I also went ahead and added Chinese spinach. It is much more crunchier than regular spinach, and I've used it a bunch of times in other recipes. And also in this recipe, I added kale, frozen kale. And as you are seeing here, I just went ahead and created some onion and garlic for a savory, decadent dish, which this is. Now, the vegan ricotta dairy-free cheese. As I mentioned, this is very, very processed. I did read the ingredient list, and I knew what I was getting into, but as I'm an open-minded person, I wanted to try it for the first time. And I must say, we really ought to stick to the simple ingredients because these things have so many stuff in it. I used to eat meat before, and I do know that when you are working with animal-based products, especially a regular ricotta cheese, in the recipe, you are able to cook it for or bake it for an hour or so because the item needs to cook thoroughly. Unfortunately, I'm realizing that in the plant-based, dairy-free alternative cheeses, the temperature factor matters and the duration that one cooks it is very important because what I'm finding is that it can make it taste very funny. Like you will not be able to eat the entire pie type funny. It tastes slightly bitter. And anything that you are seeing me adding in this particular recipe is something that I would normally add. Your spices, your salt, your pepper. I don't think those items or those ingredients were the factor as to why this tasted really bad. I've worked with pie crust many of times in other recipe scenarios, so I am not a stranger to working with pie crust. I believe the only new factor in this particular recipe was the vegan cheese. This is not my first time working with dairy-free cheese in recipes, but this is the first time I'm choosing to come on here and say something on the public web about it. We need to stick to the simple ingredients. If you were to toast cashews on the stove at a very high temperature for a long duration of time, the cashews will burn. If you were to do the same thing for soybeans, it will burn. And they add a whole bunch of chemicals and processed stuff to these things. I don't know, for a taste, but either ways, it doesn't work, okay? Bottom line, it doesn't work. If you want to create it in a cold recipe, it might. But if you're cooking it at a high temperature for an hour or so, it will taste funny. I do have an experience with creating a similar working with cream cheese, vegan cream cheese at least, and in this peach tart was where I created it and it tasted bitter. My bottom line thought is that I need to stay away from plant-based cream cheese recipes, especially if it calls for me to bake something for 30 minutes to 1 hour. If you like this type candid talk, I tend to update a lot of opinions and advice and insight on Facebook. Feel free to check us out on there. Otherwise, thank you very much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.